There's no denying that My Hero Academia and Jujutsu Kaisen are two of the most popular anime and manga series in recent times. One of the most notable things about both series, besides their great plot, characters, and fights, is their power systems. Curse energy for Jujutsu Kaisen and quirks in My Hero Academia. So let's do a little thought experiment. How would some of our favorite My Hero characters do if they had access to curse energy instead of quirks? Let's start with our green hair MC, Deku. Now, if we're starting with the beginning of the series, Midoriya, then yes, I know you have no cursed energy, and he would be like Maki or Toji. First of all, it makes sense, I hear you. Secondly, that's boring. So we're going to give him a power set akin to him having one for all. Alright, let's start with his cursed energy. Deku would definitely try to copy All Might's style and put too much cursed energy into his fists, making them powerful attacks, sure, but it would tire him out quickly and even injure himself. As we've seen, good Jujutsu sorcerers can see the flow of cursed energy, making Deku an easy fighter to read. So, over time, Deku will learn to distribute the energy, making a full cowl of sorts. Now let's get into some interesting stuff. What would his curse technique be? To simplify the pretty complicated power, curse techniques are similar to Nen abilities from Hunter x Hunter, where each character has their own unique ability they can use for battle, which each having different uses and effects, like how Megumi can summon cool shadow spirits, while Nobara literally practices voodoo. Back to Deku, I have named his curse technique Hero Analysis after his journal. The ability activates when he touches someone. After that, there's a time meter that slowly goes down. When it finishes, a floating intangible notebook appears and follows Deku around like a Shikigami. And when the notebook first appears, it gives insight into the enemy he touches. Like if it was Bakugou, for example, it would tell Deku something like he uses a right swing 83% of the time to start his attacks. The information goes straight into Deku's head. There are two ways to have the meter grow, by waiting the time out or keep attacking or touching the person to speed it up. Almost an infinite number of notebooks could be made if the fight lasts long enough or until Deku runs out of energy. Speaking of, this technique drains Deku's cursed energy pretty quickly, but when the notebook is formed, he is refunded a small amount of it back. Now onto the domain expansion, an ultimate technique of sorts that Jujutsu sorcerers use that forms a barrier around the caster and traps people in it. Domains usually come in two forms, lethal and non-lethal. As the name implies, a lethal domain is used to create a barrier that amplifies the caster's curse technique, and all attacks are guaranteed to hit. Non-lethal domains force the targets to follow the innate curse techniques of the barrier or the rules that they set. There is more information regarding domains, but this is the basics we need for this video. Deku's domain is going to be called Audience of the Vestige World. Yeah, that naming scheme is pretty common in Jujutsu Kaisen, so it makes perfect sense here. The domain traps the target in a place that looks similar to the Vestige World, and Deku automatically has 3 notebooks available. In this domain, notebooks correlate to the users of One for All, so with 3 notebooks out, Deku can use his curse techniques that will be identical to the first, second, and third users' quirks. Bakugou is much simpler to explain, which now that I say that out loud, maybe I should have started with him. But here we go. Starting with Bakugou's cursed energy, we know that this prodigy is not going a day without practicing his cursed energy output and control. Bakugou's explosive personality would definitely hinder his cursed energy control at times, as controlling emotions is key. But with his genius and surprisingly rational mind, he wouldn't be at a disadvantage for too long. His cursed technique, Halter Impact, allows Bakugou to transfer his cursed energy to objects he touches, and explode them on command or if he loses concentration. The more cursed energy he puts into an object, the bigger the explosion. Bakugou realizes that changing cursed energy into a sweat can give him increased mobility by creating explosions, as well as throwing the sweat can make undetectable explosive. For his domain expansion, there's no doubt in my mind that Bakugou will want a non-lethal domain to prove his dominance over the target and beat them without the guaranteed hits. So his domain, Great Explosion Parade, creates a barrier that will take form of a plain field with a downpour of rain. The rain, however, is created from Bakugou's cursed energy, meaning he can detonate each drop whenever he wants to. The rules of the domain is that the target can only leave the domain in one of two ways, by defeating Bakugou or by omitting defeat. If the target omits defeat, they lose their access to cursed energy for a certain amount of time. Next we have the fan favorite Zuko lookalike, Shoto Todoroki. We know Todoroki already has a weird situation going on in My Hero Academia with his quirk. Just like his My Hero counterpart, this version of Todoroki's cursed energy flows differently depending on the side of his body in the comments below. But for this curse technique, it allows Shoto to make 2 clones. that correspond with his fire and ice side, so you can make 2 ice clones, 2 fire clones, or 1 of each. The clones have massive pyrokinesis and chirokinesis abilities, creating giant ice walls or fire blasts, similar to what Shoto does in My Hero currently. There's some drawbacks with this technique, however. It takes a large amount of cursed energy to form the clones, and despite the clones being physically strong, their durability is a bit low, making them easy to defeat if they go in one-on-one. Shoto can destroy a clone on command and resummon it, giving a versatile fighting style. This curse technique is perfect for him because we've seen throughout the series that his strong suit is a long-range fight, and he can set up his clones to attack from afar as he traps them in ice. Domain time. I see Shoto wanting a lethal domain to end the fight without stretching it out for too long. I call his domain expansion Heaven Piercing Geyser. The domain takes place in a hot spring while there's snow falling. The hot spring shoots up a geyser of blue flames that both freeze and burn the target. Alright, we're going to end with the symbol of peace himself, All Might. All Might's abilities came pretty easily, it just made too much sense for me. His curse energy is immense, as he pours most of it into his punches, as he can use the Black Flash quite a bit. All Might's curse technique, Stockpile, allows him to absorb curse energy attacks and then power his own. All Might still takes the damage of the attack, and if the attack is made without curse energy, it does not give him any benefits. But if it was made with curse energy, he can add it to his own reserves, almost like a battery. When All Might uses too much curse energy, his body reverts into his Small Might form, which greatly lowers his abilities, and he can still absorb attacks but to a lesser effect. He will need to absorb enough curse energy to revert back to his strong form. The domain expansion, Embers of One For All, creates a barrier that bestows the target half of the energy All Might has absorbed. If the energy is too much for the person, they are defeated. But if they can handle all of it, then it becomes a full-on fight between All Might and the person, where All Might is still able to absorb the cursed energy that they output. Wow, that was really fun actually. Switching the power systems of some of my favorite series was a great thought experiment. It was fun to be creative. I'm not done yet. I have some ideas for All For One, Shigaraki, and more. If you want different animes to switch or more characters, let me know in the comments below, because I would love to see if you like this stuff. Alright, peace!